Yeah.
So you're like this is recording right now, and you can start as you're ready.
I haven't, you know what?
You vote in the
I haven't been there often that much.
Those are the conversations that I always have to use.
It's really kind of like, organization, I want to back.
Something. I remember.
No, that's not
And I was
like,
like, you know what?
that's what Zillow
I'm not
is.
gonna
I mean, it sounds like.
pay.
Yeah, like it's near, yeah,
The price
definitely.
of home. That was paid.
Still meeting people, right?
So I ended up helping out.
Hi everyone, we're getting started in a few minutes, we're just waiting for one of our panelists.
Hey, how's it going? You're still with me?
Yeah, you know.
Oh, yeah, I'm good, sorry. I met you at the event
Yeah.
with,
No,
that's fine, right? Yeah.
Okay, it's right next door, so
Yeah.
Zillow's here. Oh, that's what they
I
got,
just completed a lot of stuff to see my money.
well,
That's where first.
Oh, yeah, I saw them. Yeah, I saw them, I like, I think they're both free.
okay.
I think maybe I should have been more.
But you did those. Yeah.
Even my personal side, I'm pretty good about myself.
Yeah. Love that.
Well, this whole September when I went over, I had to like buy stuff for the apartment.
Yeah. That's how, well.
Like most of the food stuff, related stuff, but also this. Where's?
Yeah.
You ain't probably get.
He doesn't know it.
It still required a lot of coordination.
I would say it would be better than not,
They won't be long.
but it's gonna be,
Yeah.
Yeah. Full of pods and just over hands.
I didn't know. That's, I didn't know.
I know.
I had to write shout, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just the way.
Yes, you don't have to worry about like having.
Parent, the language.
Your mom and dad.
Doesn't serve us.
Graduate.
I'm doing it in a different way.
Yeah.
It's like a revelation to one of my clients.
Charge you rent. Don't make that, so they make you that
Yeah.
going.
And I just.
No, I
all day,
know.
I'm trying.
Really motivated.
Yeah, I'm trying to
You're
get.
one of them personalities
But
that
I think
that's
you were very
where you
like-
live on the thing, I feel like you're got like motivated spirits.
I keep it on and. I met my other friend, one of my friends, he worked on day. Like my brother here, cause he just moved here too, like, the
Okay.
year after I.
We've been in that very community, but. I really can't. Ship up through
How's your family doing out here?
They're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife was looking for a different situation and she's been doing the Netflix, she's like, the executive
So
director.
I think. I did really remember those down a little bit. It's.
Figuring things out.
Yeah.
So when she was figuring things out, that's when. It was so funny. It was just like, I'll tell you all the details, but it's all kind of like, if my clients.
Like Eric or Karen?
Eric
on the world.
You know, this is the best legal experience I've never had in my life.
This is just a second year.
You know, it is, it was so fun.
That's very kind girl.
Yes, well, I think season 2.
Perfect.
nice to see you.
Hi, I'm Erika. Nice to meet you.
Hi everyone, I'm sorry, I'm running late, so.
Blame her.
We didn't agree. Right, everyone, so now that we have all of our panelists here, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of BOSA, welcome to today's panel discussion. We are thrilled to have you all here. And we want to start by thanking our panelists for joining us. Your time, insight, and experiences mean so much to our community. The purpose of today's event is to expose students to diverse legal paths and provide insight into public service, entrepreneurship, and in-house legal careers. We're also excited to, highlight our collaboration with the Election Law Caucus, who will share their expertise later if time permits. Before we dive in, I'd like to briefly introduce our speakers. We have Erika Evans, who is a civil rights attorney and candidate for city's attorney. We have Kristina Larry, who's a solo practitioner specializing in niche legal areas with an entrepreneurial focus. Then we have Sadie Houston, an in-house counsel with experience in sports law and a former Lauren Miller Bar Association president. And lastly, we have Raphael Gil, who's a solo practitioner focusing on emergency technologies, investigations, and privacy. Each of our panelists will share more about their backgrounds. Furthermore, with that, let's start our panel discussion.
And so we'd like to invite each of you to just elaborate more on your background. You can start with you, Raphael.
Oh, sure. Raphael Gil, from New York City, moved here a few years ago. I met most of the panelists here. They've been really helpful in me transitioning over from New York to Seattle. So I would encourage you to join, the Black Bar, the Rariest Bar, to connect with us. It's really important. I've been practicing. I started at big firms. I went to small firms. I've done in-house, and now I'm starting my own thing. 20 years after being an employee, I'm ready to try to do things my way. So that's kind of the next thing that I'm on now. I'm really motivated and I'm excited about it. So happy to talk to you about kind of each time, kind of all those aspects of my career. So I have a little bit of insight in all those.
Yes, Sadie.
Yes, my name is Sadie Houston. I am the Associate General Counsel with Seattle Sounders and Seattle Rain, which are the MLS and the USL Seattle. I might be the, actually I can confirm, I'm the most recent graduate of law school. I graduated in 2020, actually from Seattle University. And so my experiences have been slim in the last 5 years, but my experiences have been incredible. My path started actually because of the pandemic. Graduating in the height of that, there wasn't a lot of legal jobs available. So I started as a data analyst for a data privacy consulting firm. And that experience was great. It gave me the foundation that I needed for privacy regulations in order to transcribe them and transfer back into the tech space, which I was an intern at Zillow. During the pandemic, the real estate industry boomed. And so when they did get headcount to bring someone back in, I got an immediate call, came back into in-house as a counsel for the rentals organization under Zillow Group. And then from there, just prepared, ready for my next step, and that was my sport, that was my dream job in sports. And so moved into the Seattle Sounders organization in 2023. We acquired the Ring in 2024, and so it's been amazing being able to work from it in sports.
Erika.
Thank you so much, and I just have to say, Sadie's killing it right now. I'm just, it's such an amazing thing to watch. You just accomplish thing after thing, and so just you're awesome. I'm also a grad here from Seattle University. I graduated in 2015, so a decade ago. My career started at the Seattle City Attorney's Office, and full disclosure, I'm running for Seattle City Attorney right now. How many of you are Seattle voters? Raise your hand. Just a few, okay, did your ballots come yet? Okay, well, I'm on your ballot. So vote and vote early. I started at the city attorney's office as a city prosecutor. I did that, and then I was a defense lawyer for the city of Seattle, which is the civil division of the city attorney's office. I've been a pro tem judge, and most recently I worked at the Department of Justice as an assistant United States attorney, which was a dream job for me. I was one of the 2 civil rights prosecutors in our district, and I also was in the terrorism and violent crimes unit. That dream job shifted once Trump took office. I was getting those executive orders that were clear rollbacks in our civil basic human rights. And I was like, screw that. This is not the DOJ I signed up for. And I saw not enough being done here at a local level with the city attorney that we currently have to fight back against what's happening to protect our city. So I'm running, and I would love your support and your vote. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristina Larry. I did not go to CLU, and I graduated in 2009, so quite a while ago. I've done a little bit of everything, government, nonprofits. It took me 2 years to realize I wouldn't want to work for anybody anymore, and I've been a solo attorney ever since then. Right now, what I do is data privacy, cybersecurity, and AI governance. So that's what I got into. I started out not exactly wanting to be a lawyer at all, actually. That was never my goal. I was studying physics. So law was not what I was planning to do in any way, shape, or form. I met a lawyer, worked for a domestic violence shelter, and I was like, oh, I know lawyers do good things. Like, out of my whole lot of lawyers, like, oh, they actually do something to help people. Okay. And that's actually what got me interested in law school. So I did go the nonprofit route for a while, realized it wasn't exactly for me. Still do nonprofits, work on the side, pro bono things, so still make it work, but yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, so for questioning, we're gonna start with Erika. Erika, can you tell us about what inspired you to pursue a career in public service and what drew you to roles in that were more prosecutorial and civil rights?
Yeah, I think back and I've been really reflecting, had a lot of time to reflect on this in the campaign trail of, generations before me. I think about my grandfather, who was a gold medalist Olympian in the 1968 Olympic Games. And he was one of the protesters that raised his fist to protest what was happening in our country, wearing the black beret. Just those lessons early on of always using the podium and the space you have to stand up for your community and fight back is what has been why I've been only in the public sector as a public servant. And you also asked about why prosecution. Well, that's been about half of the decade of legal experience I have. I think it's really important that we see folks that look like us in those roles as well. There's been cases I had where the victims have been people that look like me, and they are shocked to see that I'm a Black female prosecutor on the case, and the perception that changes for them on like what traditionally a prosecutor looks like. And that's important. Our lens is valuable in those spaces. And so I think representation matters greatly in all places of leadership. Thank you.
And just building off of that, could you share an experience that shaped your approach to equity and justice, or how you show up as a Black attorney in public service?
Yeah, one of the cases when I was a defense lawyer for the city involved a transgender woman that was harmed by law enforcement. And as a city attorney, one of your jobs is to represent all city departments, which includes the Seattle Police Department. And I remember in that case specifically being able to go to our city attorney and explaining the harm that was caused, and that the right resolution in that case was a settlement and not something that should be fought in litigation. So that's like a clear example that I can think of where I was really glad that I was the one that had that case to be able to provide, justice for this person and do it in a way that, is in the interest of the city of Seattle.
Thank you for that, Erika. So given all of that, how do you balance the demands of prosecutorial work with personal well-being while maintaining community trust and authenticity?
Yeah, so I left the Department of Justice, so I'm just running full-time for this campaign. And let me tell you, people are crazy. So managing and keeping my peace despite I'll be candid, I'm challenging our Republican city attorney that's currently in office, and just kind of balancing some of that right-wing culture of folks that are behind her has been, not easy because folks are negative and want to try to, steal your joy and peace. And so having a circle of folks that I love and trust, I'm thinking about my husband who's been so supportive and just a safe space to be able to, talk about things that in a way that helps me be grounded, and that is so important.
So for students or first-time voters who are unfamiliar with the Democracy Voucher Program, can you explain what it is, how it works, and how individuals can access or use their voters effectively?
Yes, democracy vouchers are something if you're a Seattle voter, you get $100. $100 that the city gives to you to use to local candidates for City of Seattle only. And it's use or lose money. So if you don't use it, you lose it. And it is a great way for grassroots campaigns like mine to raise money. So we're not someone that is relying on big business. We're a grassroots campaign. We can reach and obtain small contributions from our voters. And it's something that has totally been a blessing in our campaign. We can't accept any more donations. We're at the cap, which is $450,000. We don't quite- So we're done with that, but I think there's still some candidates, I think in one of the districts, city council races that are still accepting democracy vouchers, so you can look up their information online. If you haven't designated your vouchers yet, please do so.
And lastly, can you just briefly describe how the program fits into broader discussions about voting rights and civic participation?
Yeah, the democracy vouchers?
Yes.
Yes, when I think about, there's another race in city council where this person is not participating in democracy vouchers. And it is like big business and business interests that are like funneling money into their campaign. And you can only think, when someone's buying you out, basically, where your interests are when you're in office. As opposed to having, a system that's equitable for everyone to give money and it's nothing out of their bank account. It's something already allocated to them. For us, like our interest is in the people of Seattle, and that's who we serve, and that's who are gonna be people that we will always have at the forefront of our policy and decision-making in that office. So it's so important because it allows all of us to participate. And it's like away from like corruption of like, big business buying someone out.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. Now, next we have Sadie. Sadie, our first question is, what drew you to in-house counsel and the sports law field specific?
Yeah, I think in-house roles are very client-facing, and so I tend to have a personality that can be very bubbly, but also unique and personable. And I found myself really enjoying the conversation that is helping people at a time of need where you kind of come to their level. And in-house roles, you as the sports team is my client. I absolutely see that as an opportunity for me to be them. And so instead of being outside counsel or being hired as an attorney to provide work to an organization that doesn't really know the goals, the benefits, the pursuit of really what the organization is trying to get at. As in-house counsel, I have that ability to really be a part of it and embed myself in it. Because I am also an employee of the organization, and so the best interest is also the best interest of me. And so in-house counsel also allows me, particularly depending on where you want to be, it allows me to be a generalist. And so I really do work the gamut of laws and practice areas within this space. Sports is just an industry. It's not, you'll hear sports law is not a thing. There can be sports adjacent laws that make sense for the industry itself. But if you think of the areas that I'm actually practicing in, it's your general trademark, intellectual property laws, it's your employment laws, it's your it's contractual, it's contract law, but it's also contractual transactions, it's litigation in some instances, we do get into that. There's consumer protection. There's so much that comes within the space. And so I really enjoy the ability to just be a generalist in the space and learn as much as I possibly can. Sports for me though, was a passion of mine. I was an athlete in high school. I did a lot of different things. I went to a small school in Oklahoma because I'm from Oklahoma, I forgot to mention that. And so I did pretty much all types of sports in high school, but then when I went to college, I got introduced to rugby. It was between rugby and track for me, and the two was because I didn't have to necessarily be, I could be a walk-on to say the least, but in track, you actually would be a NCAA student, and that would require a lot of rules and regulations around student athletes, including not the ability to work. And so I needed to work because I needed to pay rent. And so I ended up choosing rugby, and rugby was probably one of the better sports that I have ever fell in love with in terms of culture and community and just the aspect of the game. Arguably, I can go head to head with anyone to argue that it is probably it was the number one sport aside from probably boxing or MMA where you need both strength and cardio or endurance. And so, we can go on that rant later, but I truly thought that sport was the gateway for me to create community, to create a space where I felt safe with people that also felt safe with me, and to be able to mesh my professional career with sports is absolutely the dream for me. And so soccer was not an option for me in high school. They didn't have soccer where I went to high school, and so I didn't actually get to play that sport. But ultimately, soccer and rugby have very similar rules, except for the contact. But it's definitely one where I felt like the team aspect and the connections aligned a lot more with my background.
Okay, thank you. And outside of your work, you also have been involved with the Warrenville Bar Association. Another question that we had was actually you're former and past president of the Warrenville Bar Association. And we wanted to know how did your participation in the organization influence your leadership style and your work generally?
Yeah, it's a great question because I've always considered myself a leader. I would say on and off the pitch, I was very much a leader. I was captain. In my professional roles, I didn't know if I had that capacity to lead other attorneys, or lead a bar organization made up of attorneys who are out doing the Lord's work in most instances where I'm just in a corporate setting. But truly was one of the moments in time where I felt the gratitude or the gratification of being able to give back to my community in a way that sometimes I can't necessarily feel in a corporate setting. And so the Lauren Miller Bar, having its roots and foundation primarily in civil rights, is the way that I felt connected to a community that I otherwise wouldn't be able to provide advocacy and support in my everyday day-to-day role and responsibilities. With the Lauren Miller Bar as a president, you quickly learn, as probably your student organizations, they're volunteer roles, and so a lot of folks sign up, they raise their hand for good intentions, maybe not so great intentions. But as a leader, I took on the responsibility of getting it done, even if somebody else couldn't. And so, I think the way that it impacted me was you always try to do your best to lead folks to do and hold them accountable for doing the things that they say they will do. But certainly everyone has a different leader style. Mine was getting it done, putting stuff up to the plate. And so not to say that that is the best approach. I think it was a great approach for me because in my mind it was a limited time. I say, I'm only going to be president for 1 year. Let me give it 365 days, all that I got. But certainly it paid off for me, at least in a way that I felt like people understood my leadership. And in fact, the very last general body meeting that we had with our members of the organization, one of the better feedback that I received that day was that it was top 3 leadership style that he had ever saw. And so I really appreciated that feedback.
What are some key differences between working in-house versus a law firm? And how do you navigate advocating for diversity and inclusion in corporate spaces?
Yeah, so I never practiced in private law firms, and it's another topic that I could go head on in terms of whether or not it makes me a more competent or less competent attorney. But I will say that I never pretend to be a subject matter expert in any area of law that you particularly can get that type of traditional training in a law firm. And I appreciate being in-house where I get that opportunity to be a generalist, but then also have a budget to reach out to outside counsel who do have that subject matter expert that we might be looking for. So the difference, I would say, just from the outside looking in, is the law firm experience will give you a more traditional training foundation. By traditional, that might look more like as an associate, you're less client facing. You're going to be doing a lot more work for partners, so just kind of handed projects, a lot of research, a lot of writing, and then maybe in some instances that you'll get to step up to the plate and be the one on the emails going back and forth. In-house, you're very much face to face with the client every single day. There's not a lot of resources. Our legal team is made up of two, and so I don't tag team a lot with my manager. But I do, there was a moment in time where I was at the organization and I was the only attorney, and that was really rough because I felt like I was talking to myself in a room whenever I needed to say something out loud to make it make sense. So it is nice to have a second person, but that to say is just a gut check in that instance. And so in-house, you really are taking a lot more responsibility. And oftentimes you have to feel comfortable with what you're saying. And sometimes you might be wrong, and that's perfectly fine. But I tend to just let it go and move on to the next thing. There's too much on my plate anyways to think about the thing that I might have messed up on. In terms of DEI in corporate spaces, so it's an interesting time because I was also Lauren Miller Bar president when Donald Trump had signed into executive order the DEI initiatives and to draw back a lot of the DEI initiatives. And I didn't feel as though my organization was really speaking out against that. Not that we were necessarily meant to, but there was a lot of organizations that you could tell the difference from the 2020 BLM movement to the 2025 January executive order time. And I spoke up often about things that I think we lacked in participation on, but I had to keep in mind that it wasn't necessarily a drawback. It was just an unknown moment where people didn't necessarily want to speak out. And I will be transparent. I think one of the reasons why I said yes to Seattle Sounders is because they are in the communities. They are very much focused on DEI. They are very much focused on the right to play and equity, racial equity. So I have no doubt that we would have stood up in moments where other people won't, and we have done that, particularly in trans rights. But I think in that moment, we were just like any other organization that was unsure of where things were going. A lot of budgets were being cut, and we had to make decisions that necessarily didn't mean we were drawing back on DEI. It was just that we weren't speaking out. And so I think my voice in the rooms when those times are happening is super imperative because it makes them question whether or not they actually are aligning with the core values that we set out. And having someone in the room at the table always pushing back on whether or not we're actually doing the thing that we say we're going to do and that we're known for doing is very important to have. And so my role at the table, particularly when it comes to DEI, is just to make sure people understand like there is this other side of it. And we have to always be thinking about that.
Thank you. And lastly, what advice do you have for students pursuing niche or underrepresented practice areas?
Go all in. Go all in. I think we might get to adversity here in a moment, but I was told, I don't know how many times, more than a handful, that sports is too difficult to get into. You know, you will be waiting years and years and years up until the point that you can take on this role. And that felt true, but in the meantime, I continued to work towards that as a dream job. And then when the opportunity presented itself, I was prepared for it. And so, you know, those are some of the things that you have to keep in mind, and there's always going to be a feeling of, will it happen? And you have to gun for it. You have to be in spaces and rooms where people know your name, that you're still interested. They feel the genuine connection to you in this role, because particularly sports is high desirable role. And there's a lot of people that might ping me, but I'll never hear from them again. And so you have to always put yourself in a position where it's like, you got to remember my name whenever there is an opening. And luckily for me, that did happen, I think, earlier in my career than I expected it to, but certainly it wouldn't have been available to me if people didn't know that I was so very much interested.
Thank you, Sadie.
And next we have Raphael. Raphael, you recently decided to go solo. Can you talk about what inspired you to go on that journey, and what's the challenges of starting your own solo firm?
Yes, that's a good question. Thank you for it. This is something that just happened. I've been, like I said, an employee for 20 years. I worked with some of the biggest law firms, Skadden, Winston and Strawn, in New York-based firms. And there was always something, I was always kind of like I never really fit in those rooms. I was in community college when I was graduated from high school. I was a bad high school student. I got a computer, and that computer led me to open up the world to see what was possible. And I said, I'm gonna go to St. John's University, I'm gonna go to Fordham Law School. And I did it without any doubt that I would. And that kind of belief is what really you need. And this is kind of what Sadie did. I know there's always a little bit of doubt about would it happen. It's really just pushing towards that goal, right? So when I got into these law firms, it was a whole new world. And maybe people won't say it, but I will, right? Big law firms, or law professions in general is about status. It's all about status in there. And when I was starting, I was not part of the status group, right? I was trying to become that. And I always felt that in order to try to do what I wanted to do, you had to play the role, you had to play the game. I did really well at Fordham. I interviewed at 25 law firms and got rejected 25 times. Even though kids that were not as good as I was as far as grades were in getting it. And that was just me. I was just rough around the edges, right? I was a kid from Brooklyn, and they just didn't want to take that chance on me. And then one time a partner told me, you're too excitable. You gotta speak like a newscaster. It was a Latino dude, Cuban dude. And I was like, man, that's tough to hear. And I did it. I got a job thanks to him. And it broke my heart, right? But I did it, and I worked in there. I never fit in. But every time I tried to do something else, I had to go back to. And this is kind of the fast forward. The reason I'm doing it now is we live in a unique time where the gatekeepers can't keep the information from us anymore. I don't need to ask the partner how to do an M&A. I found out and I learned to do it on my own, and I'll do it better than they will at a better price. That's the energy I'm on now. And the clients love it. And right now, I'm charging $500 an hour. My former boss at Skadden is charging $2,200 just to go, hello, I'm doing it for you. And when I'm pitching it to small businesses, I'm your general counsel, and I'm doing it efficiently. I'm using technology. I'm using large language models. I've been figuring stuff out. I was figuring stuff out since I got that computer, and I'm good at it. So that's why my partner, my former boss, I was in-house at Nardello. He's not my client. They have me on $20,000 a month retainer because they did it. They can't do what I do. And what I'm telling all of you here is, if you have an interest, whether it's sports law, or you want to go to politics and change the world, the information is available to you. Forget about the grades. If you get a bad grade, you look at your professor like, that's how you feel? I got you. And just move on and learn what you want to do. There was a moment in time I got a bad grade in legal writing. I didn't know how to write. Of course I didn't. Look where I came from. I know how to write now really well. It turns out that doesn't matter how well you write now because the computer writes it for you, right? So, but I was good at solving problems. Give me a problem, I don't care what it is. And I want to be able to now I have a client, I'm helping him with software development. And my cousin called me because he's having an issue with child support. I'm representing both of them with the same level of high level practice, treating them with the same dignity. And they're both my clients at the same time. When I had to do that at Skadden, I had to go ask them, I got this kid, like, no, we can't do it. And when they came in there, they treated them like second-class citizens. It's over for that. We practice law the way we want to do it, right? So the reason why I started my own firm is because I'm trying to scale this idea that I got. And I invite all of you to join me and do it. If you have community members, like people in your family or restaurants, ask them like, you ever hired a lawyer before? How did it go? What problems did you face? How do I solve it? And learn how to do it, and then do it at scale. You just need a few of those and make a living. So that's what I'm here to do. So that's it. That's my little. And everybody want to contact me. I love doing this. I'm high energy. I've been going to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning to think about it.
That's good.
So, yeah, my kids are older, a little bit older, 15 and 12, so they don't want to, they've heard it all. They've heard this idea, but like, I made the website, I made my business cards, I got stickers with QR codes. I learned all of that during the pandemic. Like,
So
I made an NFT, I just do everything.
Awesome,
Yeah.
and that leads to our next question, you can talk about like how you taught how to like do the M&As and like working with AI and stuff like that. So can you just tell us about like how you explore like these deep understandings of like new emerging technology? And then how important it is for lawyers to speak the language of their clients?
Yeah, I think understanding technology, and I know Kristina, you said you're doing cybersecurity, you're doing privacy, and you're doing AI governance, that's the future, right? I always like to be where the future is going, right? You gotta go where the puck is gonna go, not where the puck is, using a sports reference, right? So the reason I like those is I like difficult, complicated structure and understanding them, because there's always a challenge to that. That's why I went to law school, right? So when somebody says, I don't like to do privacy, and my boss says that stuff, I'm like, good, stay there. Because I'm gonna learn this stuff, then you're gonna need me. And that's what I've been doing. It's not, it could be privacy, it could be med mal, so whatever is complicated, give me a shot at it. I'm good at solving. And what happened is, for the last 20 years I've been solving, I have that muscle now. Whatever it is, ask my client, I just solved something for him in 3 hours. He thought it was the best attorney he's ever met, right? And that's what I'm doing. So one of the things about technology is you just gotta go and jump in. Play with the models, all of them. See what it means. Ask him about you, see if it knows you. I asked him about me and started talking about me. Raphael Gil is an attorney from New York. I'm like, wow, it's crazy. He's in Equinox, like I was at back. So just learn what it means. Because one of the things that's gonna happen, and it happened to us when the internet came out, it happened to us when social media came out, is that everybody just starts to be a user, and we're not in the ecosystem to make a difference. So let's just now, this time around, my goal is make sure that our community is understanding the power that AI has to solve issues. My mom is not good I told my mom, like, yo, just ask chat to read this for you and see what it says. She speaks Spanish. She has it now. Like, we could do that for our communities. There's things that we could do with this technology. So one of the things I'll tell you about the technology is make sure you're not falling behind. Don't be one of those attorneys like, I know one at the Perkins School, he was like, I'm a Luddite. I don't want to learn about that. Like, cool, stay right there. I'm gonna eat your lunch. I told him that. Me and him got a good relationship. It's actually Judge Abdul. He's my brother, so I know me and him joke like that. But I told him, stay right there, Judge, because he was a former federal district court judge too. But if you don't get to it, I'm gonna eat your lunch, right? So just figure out where the problems are in these big firms, the inefficiencies, and see how you get that. It's gonna take some time. I met Sadie before I moved here because Raul was a student that used to speak at St. John's, and they were both into sports. He's a boxer, she was into sports, they met each other. These things don't happen by accident. Sadie's not here, one of the youngest associate general counsels, maybe in the country in a sports team, if not because she just happened to put her resume in. She's been chasing this since I met her. So when I saw she got the job, man, I was happier than I was as happy as I could have been if I won. So that's one of the things I want you guys to look at, right? Like, these connections matter. I met Erika early on in the Black Bar, and she was running out. I'm doing everything I can when I see somebody that could vote in Seattle to say to vote for her, right? I'm gonna meet Kristina. She does technology stuff. Me and her are gonna figure out a way to collaborate. There's no doubt about it, right? So that's kind of the energy you gotta be on. Forget about the grades. I know you're stressed out, finals are coming. It is what it is, right? If that's how you feel or she feels, then let it be, right? But have a plan about what you wanna do.
Okay, thank you so much, Raphael.
Sure.
Okay, last we have Kristina. Kristina and I talked about how Raphael went solo. You're also a solo practitioner as well. Can you tell us about what motivated you to start your firm and some of the challenges you faced earlier on that you overcame?
Yeah, I said, I never wanted to be a lawyer, so I'll say that. That was not my goal, but I went through law school. I started working, I did a lot of things, I worked in government, I worked at a small firm with just like 2 other attorneys. I was working for a nonprofit, And I was absolutely miserable, and I went to lunch and said, I'm not gonna go back. So I emailed in my 2 weeks notice, went in that night, cleaned out my office, and I was like, oh, guess I'll start my own law firm till I find something else. I never found anything else, I didn't look anymore. So starting my firm, I think, I didn't know, I moved here from Houston. I didn't know anybody. I came because I wanted to get out of Texas, I was done with Texas. I watched a lot of Frasier, and Seattle seemed really cool on that show, so I was like, let me go try out Seattle. I mean, that was it. I didn't know a single person. I had never been. I was like, let me just go do that. So that's what I did. So I didn't have a lot of connections to start. I came from a nonprofit. I had clients to take. So like I said, this was so long ago, but I started advertising on Craigslist back then, and I was like, someone told me that. And they were like, you should advertise on, like, it's not like broken furniture and like, weird stuff like roommates and other things. Like, oh, just try it. It was free. So I was like, I'm gonna do it. And I would post like 10 times a day. I think that was like the max you could do. And I started getting clients. And I built my firm around the model of how can I help people? I came from the nonprofit, like I said, I kind of went to law school because I saw that lawyers can help people. So I started my firm. Flat fees, I never charge by the hour. I've never done retainers. I do flat fees for everything. Mostly because I'm lazy. I don't want to keep a trust account. But it works. One, it makes it easy for clients. They know exactly what it's going to cost. You build in what you need to, it covers this much of something else. You can add it in. So you're never short of, what you need. You get your money up front. So you never have to chase a bill. You pay me first, then I do the work. So you're always paid. So I did all of those types of things. My firm was called Sassy Litigation. People are like, you can't call a firm. I'm like, you call a firm whatever you want. My last name is Larry. I'm gonna call it Larry Law. Like that doesn't, I mean, it just sounded horrible. I was like, what can I call this? That would be something. I didn't know if it would stick, but that became my biggest marketing because people remember that name. Wherever I went. I built 2 sub-brands. I was doing business law. I wanted more contract work. I read an article somewhere that said when people get married, they sign 35 contracts on average. I created the Seattle Wedding Lawyer as a sub-brand to get contract works. I got wedding vendors, limo drivers, wineries, all kinds of stuff just because put that little niche out there, Seattle Wedding Lawyer, you get more contract work. Off of that, I made the sub-brand the Prenup Princess. That's what are prenups. They're contracts. So I just wanted more work. So I had to, like I said, you have to just keep doing what you do to kind of figure out how to get that work. So I think that was kind of the biggest challenge for me was trying to figure out, one, how to get clients, because like I said, I didn't know how to really do that. I never planned to go on my own. What really kind of helped me was joining things. I'm not a social person at all. It's probably the most social thing I'll do like all month. I don't like leaving my house. I'm good there. Like that's my place. I'm good. So I had to figure out how do I was doing a lot of networking events, but it was draining. I was doing 9 networking events like a week trying to build a business. But that was draining for me. So I figured, how can I build a business by doing stuff I like? So I doing a lot of different things. I got really involved with the Washington State Bar Association. So I would do like their different committees or different associations. I'm a governor for the Washington State Bar Association now. We decide all the stuff that lawyers have to do. So I'm on the board of governors for that. I ran the Washington State Bar Foundation as president. So I kind of did things that I liked, and that's kind of how I built my business. Because you get to meet a lot of people, you get to travel around, you get to kind of do stuff that you already enjoy. But yeah, I would say that was probably the biggest challenge, just figuring out how do you go solo? Because I didn't really know.
Yeah, thank you. And it's interesting because you actually were the person that made me know that writing law was even a thing. And you also do AI and like privacy law as well. Can you talk about like outside of maybe the networking, how do you stay up to date with all these different areas of law and are still able to keep like your unique brand new identity?
Yeah, it's a lot of work to stay up to date. There's so much. But yeah, one of the great ways with like local laws is the Washington State Court. You can get like on their it's like a newsletter. They send out case updates. These are some of the cases that Supreme Court kind of came down on, different news articles, things like that. That's really helpful. Being in a section, I know like each of the like county bars have sections, Washington State Bar has sections. that really helps. The solo small practice section, that was probably a lifesaver for me. I discovered it way too late after I started my firm, but it's a great tool to be able to stay up to date, be able to get advice on how to do things, just kind of figuring it out. Part of having all of my cybersecurity, AI and things like that, international social privacy professional, that's legit. I mean, they'll send you like 20 emails a day on what law is changing because it is constantly changing. So you're constantly getting updates that, so you just have to find just kind of these different areas to kind of stay up. And it's not that hard now. I feel like it's much easier to get connected now than I think it was many years ago, but.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kristina, for answering that question. Now we would like to open up the floor to students. If you have any questions, career-specific, general questions as well for our panelists.
When you're first starting up, how'd you like hit the ground running? Like either like getting that first like job or either starting a solo practitioner, like what really motivated you to keep going when like things were getting tough and didn't seem like you'd be able to maybe get things going, which would do? Like, what are some of the things you do?
I guess for me, it's like you're not gonna do it, no one else is. Like I said, that's kind of the only thing, especially when you are a solo, you don't have, anyone else. I designed it. I didn't want to as assistant. I didn't want her. Like I said, I want to work with people. Let me work by myself. So that is what I had to do. I said I'm not a social person. I had to be social. I was going to networking events. I don't like social media. I was making videos and postings and all that stuff, doing all the stuff that I really didn't want to do because you have to kind of do that to kind of get where you need to. So it's just that motivation of, do you want to succeed? Do you want to actually have a business? What do you do? And I remember I was complaining to one of my friends, like, oh, I don't want to have to go to this event. I don't want to actually make a video. I don't want to do posting. He's like, so you're saying you don't want to eat? And I was like, all right, I guess that if you put it that way, that makes sense. So it was one of those things of just kind of having to kind of figure out, if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it for you. You're not in a big company. You're not in something else that's handling all those aspects for you. It's just you on your own. And even I think if you are in a firm and different things like that, you still need to do what's best for you and not what's best for them. Because, you see it all the time. People are getting laid off. They don't care. You might decide you want to leave and do something else. You always still need to be able to make your connections and have what's best for you.
Yeah, I would add to that, take stock in the things that you do have right now, like your family, your friends, your support system. Because when I started at the big firm from 2005, 2010. 2010, you guys were too young, but 2010 was tough. 2007 to 2012, tough. I got laid off. I was the last brown person in the whole New York office. I knew I was coming. It came. And I was making 200,000 plus thousand. The next year, my daughter was just born. I made $20,000. Instead of just like, I wanted to be a tough guy, realize like, just fight through it. Instead of just going to my mom, like, man, I think I need help. I went through my credit crash. All this stuff happened. Me and my wife were trying to figure it out. And then I went to my mom, and my mom like told me, just come live here for a year and rent your condo and figure it out. And that's what I did, and I was right back at it, right? So what I'm saying is, and I was really, my credit was so low, I couldn't believe how low it was. It's back up to like 800. What I'm saying is, even the worst moment is not gonna be the worst in hindsight. I'm telling you, it feels bad at the moment, but that was actually the best thing that ever happened to me, because now I'm indestructible. Because I still got my mom, still got my family, and if things go left, I know what I need to do. So just remember what you have now, that support, and use it, right? Rely on it.
Could you speak more about towards the idea of finding a niche in those law firms? I worked at Perkins, I worked at some law firms as a legal assistant. I even worked at a nonviolent Lang under Andre Lang. I'm familiar with Mr. Lang. However, I was working for him. He told me, I need you to show me how you bring value to the firm. So you talked about finding a niche, doing those things that no one else wants to do. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, you'll find those areas. Privacy is one of them. And once you learn privacy, and IAPP, I would recommend everybody just sign up to just the newsletter to give you all the privacy information. And I already told you, and you actually get a certification. The reason I met Raul was one of the kids in St. John's. He got a certification from IAPP, and now he works for IBM as a privacy attorney. He's been doing this since he graduated. It's rare, right? So you find these areas where people don't like it. I'm like, what's so hard about it? It can't be like, is it harder than just growing up in Brooklyn? Like, is it? Turns out it's not that hard. It's just that people just don't have the interest. It could be complicated, you get into the technical, but I get really deep. I'll just go in on YouTube, 13 hours just coding something, trying to figure it out. I made NFTs during the time my NFTs were created. Go to Sad Lawyers on OpenSea, you'll find my NFTs. I told 10 of them for $75 each for an image, right? And what I'm saying is, you can find out whatever you want to find out. So when I find something that's hard, I knew something was coming with AI. I told my boss, he was from Scadden, the world's about to change. He's like, all right, Raphael. 6 months later, he went to a conference at Scadden, they told him the same thing, and now he believes me, right? So that's the thing, right? Find what you think, we got the pulse, right? We know what's happening. Like, find that thing, and if you're not interested in it, do what you love too, right? Find that thing and just keep after it. Like, just trying to find the solutions. I'm telling you, they may tell you that it's like really complicated to do it. It ain't really that complicated if you put the time in and you just kind of have that tenacity. The same thing, like the same way that Sadie was tenacious about sports law. Just be in the room. When she went to the state bar and she's in the room now she has a say in what's happening, man, you become an expert and suddenly you are, right? And when you feel like you are, believe it, it's true. I am the expert now. I say it from my chest now. It took me a while, right? It took me to 3 years ago to say like, yeah, I'm the expert in privacy. Because I was. Yeah. Another question.
Yes, hi, my name is Excel Gonzalez. I have a question about like time, patience, and like listening to you guys speak is like so inspiring. So right now I'm interested in going into prosecution. I want to prosecute crimes against children, specifically internet crimes against children. I spoke with a prosecutor and they explained to me that I would start off with misdemeanor, start off with felony, like it's a whole process. I am not the most patient person. I have an entrepreneurial background. So I'm also looking at things like privacy and AI, especially when it comes to like deepfakes involving the child abuse material and children and online. So how do you know when to weigh, like, if you're gonna take a traditional route, like, or just do your own thing? Like, what things that you take into consideration? For example, I'm scared to go to the prosecutor's office, be there when I could be like solving crimes, because you can't go to like the children's unit like and do those until you get experience, which I understand. You don't want to mess up a case on that, but I also feel like I could help mothers make companies safer, like, you know, companies that push products towards children like TikTok, Instagram. So like, how do you know when to either leave an organization or like, you know what, I'm gonna do my own thing? I know like if you don't do it, who is? But like, what did you take into account? Like, was it like, I'm gonna get this experience, or I'm gonna have this amount saved? Like, when did you, or what did you take into consideration to make that risk or that jump or that switch? Or is it just like, just be patient and your time will come? Like, any advice on that?
Yeah, I can start to answer this. You know, I'm just thinking about my own experience at the Department of Justice, and I always wanted to do this civil rights work. And that wasn't something I was able to do when I first started there. But I was hungry for it, so I kept harassing the folks that are like, this is the work that they're doing. Can I work on this case with you? Am I able to even just help out, even if it's just a small portion? You know, I see that as an option for you, you know, if you did want to go to King County and they put you in misdemeanors, but going and being vocal to the people that are doing those crimes against children cases, like really early on, and asking how you can help. Is there some discovery review you can do, just or anything, like anything to help and for them to see that you are really interested in doing that work. And then, you know, if it's not something that seems like it's gonna happen, or they're just like dodging you, then yeah, maybe you need to leave. But I think you should give them the opportunity to let you do that work too, even if it's not like your full-time job as a prosecutor, but harassing them until they are giving you some of that experience doing those cases.
Super upfront since day one.
Yeah, and then going to those, so even if the office is like, oh, you can't work on those cases, still going to the prosecutors that are doing those cases and asking what you can help with. like constantly, being aggressive to get, on those cases.
And, I would add there's a big country, there's a lot of places to find that potential, that place, but I would echo what Erika is saying. It's better to be inside and be able to ask that person for lunch, right? When you go up, I wanna learn more than being in the outside, right? So, the closer you get, I would definitely, and you do have to be patient also. It's gonna be part of it, yeah. There's gonna be those things, just the way it is, right? You're still learning how to practice law, right? But one thing I would say, the last thing is that can't be denied. So if that's your passion and you keep pushing, you're gonna run into it, it's gonna run into you, it just can't be, so.
Given time, we would like to invite the election law caucus to discuss any initiatives or just talk more about the organization.
Well, thank you so much for having us. This has been a fantastic panel. Just a little bit about the Election Law Caucus. We are a new organization. This is our second year. We have 3 members on the board. I'm the treasurer. My name is Jalen Brown. We have 2 co-presidents, Jesse Post and Nidhi Kumar. And we are just here to disseminate information about voting rights and election law related topics. And at Seattle University, we want to be the champions for democracy. We want to be radical Democrats, small d Democrats. We want to help proliferate political consciousness. We want to help answer questions related to voting rights and other civil rights or tangentially related civil rights questions. And so we invite you guys to engage with us in this exploration. If you have ideas for events or collaborations or fundraisers, please contact, you can contact me directly. I can provide you with my email, my SB email, or my telephone number. I'm really good with texting if you guys prefer to get in contact with me that way. But I just wanted to thank you guys so much for allowing us to partner and help be a part of this event with you guys today.
Thank you. We extend our sincere gratitude to our esteemed panelists today, sharing their valuable perspectives and also all the attendees as well through your thoughtful engagement in today's discussion. A special thank you goes to our Vice President for his instrumental role in Yes. Before we close, I definitely want to encourage you all to stay connected to VOLSA and our upcoming events, our volunteer initiatives, and also our community gatherings. We hope today's conversation leaves you feeling inspired and empowered about the possibilities in the legal field. And I hope you have a good rest of your day and a good weekend. Thank you. Yes.
I'll be around. I have 43 minutes left on my parking, so I'll be here.
If anyone would like to stay behind and also take a group picture.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want the picture?
Yeah.
Also, I want to use it.
Oh, you want to board?
So we're good to go.
Okay. So I have to like.
Or they want
You want us in this picture?
Yes.
You want us, are you doing?
Yes.
Like a whole group picture, everybody. In person. Today or is it?
Yeah, let's get this short and jingles. Not trying to be.
Okay, someone else there, photo.
Yes. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, stand in front, don't even go, we stand up straight, okay, sorry, President, you're not walking back. Is that good?
Yes, I got everybody. All right, 1, 2, 3. You okay? Hold on. I got another phone.
And then do vertical too.
Yeah. All right, 1, 2, and 3. I've been trained.
Thank you. Honestly, I feel like I'm just like being excited.
I don't mind it too much.
I also that, but I'm.
Hi, Sadie. Look, here you go.
Managing my time.
Yeah.
No,
Okay, that's-